The heading of today's lesson is percent of a number. Our targets for today. Students will be able to write a percent as a decimal and fraction and find the percent of a number. Okay, for today's notes, there are two separate ways you can find the percent of a number. So, to find the percent of a number, such as 60% of 2,000, you can use either of the following methods. The first one is to write the percent as a fraction and then multiply. And your other one is to write your percent as a decimal and multiply. Okay, you are able to choose either of these two methods and find out which one you like to work with more, and then you can use that method. Unless it specifically says to write it in a percent, to write your percent as a fraction or a decimal, it doesn't matter to me which way you choose, whichever you feel more comfortable with. Okay, if you choose to write it as a fraction, in order to turn your percent into a fraction, you must place the percent over 100 and then simplify. Remember, percents are always out of 100. And if you have a decimal, in order to change a percent into a decimal, you can either divide it by 100, because that's the total of a percent, or move your decimal place 2 to the left. Okay, we are going to try the first three examples together. The first one, find 5% of 300 by writing the percent as a fraction. So we look at 5%. How would we write that as a fraction? 5 over 100. And we want to then multiply it by our total. So we're multiplying by 300. And how do we write 300 as a fraction? Over 1. So then we're going to go ahead and multiply our numerators. 5 times 300 gives us 1,500. And 100 times 1 gives us 100. Can we simplify this? If we divide both by 100, we get 15 over 1, which we know equals 15. Okay, for our second example, find 25% of 180 by writing the percent as a decimal. So we want to take 25% and change it to a decimal. If we have a whole number, our decimal place would come at the end, and we want to move it to the
Right.
left, and we get 0.25. So I have 0.25, and I want to multiply by my total, which is 180. So when you multiply these two values together, what do you get? .25 times 180 is 45.
You're supposed to.
Okay, so for those of you that like writing our percent as a fraction, we write 120% as a fraction. It's 120 over what number? 100, and then we're multiplying by 75, and 75 as a fraction is 75 over 1. So multiply your numerators. 120 times 75 gives us 9,000. And when we multiply 100 times 1, we get 100. We can cancel out our zeros, and we're left with 90 over 1, which we know is equal to 90. If you try doing the other method, how would we write 120% as a decimal?
1.20.
Yeah, 1.20. So we have 1.20, and we have to multiply that by 90. When you multiply these two numbers together, what did you get? Oh, we're supposed to multiply by 75.
Yeah.
So when we multiply these two numbers together, what do we get?
9.
90. What do you notice about these two answers? They're the same. It doesn't matter what method you choose, you're going to come up with the same answer. Okay, so go ahead and try the on your own examples. We have two where we are finding the percents of numbers. You can change them, your percent, to a fraction or to a decimal. We have one that has to refer to the graph and one with a 4% commission. We are finding the percent of a number, which means we are multiplying.
Yeah.
Miss Princess?
Yeah.
What?